Hello, it's Crafty Carol here again with another video. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in Northern Ireland and sell to the UK, and I can sell anywhere in Europe as it happens. So if you're looking for a demonstrator, do think about using me. I wanted to talk today a little bit about this lovely suite. It's in the mini catalogue, and if you need a copy, please get in touch, or you can look at it online on my shop. And it's called the Regency Park Suite. Now, I don't have everything from this suite. It's got papers and ribbons and everything. But I do have a number of items I just wanted to share with you. And that's the two stamp sets with their dies and their punch, and the embossing folder. So the two die sets, Petal Park, and that goes with the Petal Park Builder Punch. And that's just got leaves and flowers, and that's the one I'm going to show you in just a minute, because there's a real tip as to how to use that well. The other set is called Sentimental Park, and it again has some leaves and flowers, lots and lots and lots of different sentiments on there, but it also includes a beautiful set of dies that produce these gorgeous floral frames. Plus you've got the flower dies, little tiny flowers and bigger flowers and stems, and it's just lovely. The cane weave embossing folder, that's this one. I hope you can see it. If I bring it up close, you can see the pattern on it, hopefully against my hand. It's a lovely one. I'll show you some cards made with it so you can see what it looks like in real life. And perhaps we'll start with that actually. So these are a couple of cards I've made with the Sentimental Park bundle. So these are how the dies cut out. They're just beautiful, and I've added some of the extra flowers you could die cut as well. And that is the cane weave embossing folder. If I bring it closer, you can see the actual pattern in that folder. It's a beautiful folder, and I've just added some gems on there. It's a little thank you card. One of the other cards I did here, Thinking of You, just stamped the background with one of the flower stamps and then added a panel with some raised petals and leaves on there, Thinking of You card. And finally another one with frames, and just using some background paper from another set, and you can use any type of paper you wanted and just match the colours, and I've used again some of the little flowers in that. And as I always tell you to, don't ever forget to stamp your envelopes as well. So I was having a play with the Petal Park set, and this is the first card I made, and I was trying to get these to line up, and I found a nice little tip to get these to line up, because these are two separate stamps, as I'll show you. My first go at doing it wasn't very good. If I bring that fairly close, you can see that my infill stamp was not lined up properly with my larger stamp, and the stamps are a little bit flexible, and I'll show you why that's difficult, but I'll show you my tip around it. But I did eventually get them fairly well lined up, and that's this one. I've got a little bit of Wink of Stella on there, but you might not be able to see that quite so much in the photo. Oh, I better mention this. Sometimes you have little whoopsies, and I was going to just decorate this envelope with flowers on the front corner and the back, and then I discovered I'd got some ink on my thumb, so I'd got a little ink mark there, so I've just put another little group of flowers to cover it. Sometimes these little accidents can be quite good. Anyway, let me show you with this card. So I've got some bits cut already. So if we look at this set, it's beautiful, and the stamps are all linked together. So this is one stamp of the outline leaves. This, the infill for the leaves, is a second stamp. Again, we've got a leaf and an infill, extra leaves there. We've got two sets of flowers, outline and infill, and two tiny sets of flowers, outline and infill. Same with the little leaf stem, plus a few dots to add around. So you can make up your own or just use this one. So if I get this one, you'll see what I mean. I'm going to show you what to do. I've already prepared some of the card. I'm going to make a similar one to the last one, but I've actually added another layer because I thought it would look nice. Just a key, if you are going to emboss a piece of card for a layer and stamp on it, do make sure you stamp on it before you emboss, because it's impossible to stamp on once you've done it. So I'd already stamped the Let's Celebrate You, and then I ran it through the embossing folder. So to make the little panel for the centre of the card, again I've got a layer. I've used Gorgeous Grape here, and that layer is 8 by 10.5 centimetres, and the piece of card I'm actually going to stamp on is 7.5 by 10 centimetres. So, and I've got a spare piece of card to do my flowers on as well, but I'm going to show you the leaves first. And through experimentation and trial and error, I discovered that the best way to do this is to use the outline stamp first. So here it is, just got it out, let it rest itself, and I can just pop it on the, drop it onto the block, rather than try and place it on the block, because it's ever so easy to move it. The join between some of the areas of the stamp is fairly thin, which means the stamp itself can move around slightly. So get it out, let it just rest a minute, put it on, just drop it onto your block. Another way to do it is to put it upside down on your work surface and then pick it up with the block, but I find just dropping it on the block there works quite well. So I'm going to use Evening Evergreen here for the outline. So here we go. There's just stamping that up, make sure my stamp is nice and well inked, and then I'm going to just stamp it straight onto the card. There we go, so that's my outline. So I've now got to do the infill, and the problem is that if I just do the same thing of dropping the stamp onto the block, it doesn't necessarily fall exactly where I want it to. So I've got a little tip for you. I haven't cleaned that stamp very well, just let me give it another little clean there. Don't like to leave ink on the stamps, doesn't do them any harm, but it doesn't look very nice, and it's not necessary. So if I now get my other stamp out, I'm going to take this one off the block. Again, be careful, it's easy to tear these stamps if you're a little bit rough with them when they're fairly, they haven't got that much, try and get it the right way around, when they haven't really got that much plastic between them, it's fairly easy to damage them. So I shall do the same thing with the infill, get it off gently off my backing, hold it for a minute to let it just relax. And then what I found works best is if you place it over your outline. Okay, so I'm placing it so that it's exactly lying where I want it to be. So I'll just move the other end around. You can see how much I can move it. It's not easy to just drop it on the block because it does move around a lot. Oop. So I'm just going to hold it down there. So I'm pretty happy that that stamp is now exactly over the original image, so I can now pick it up on my block, and then I can use it. Now I am, so she looking for a spare piece of paper here. I am going to stamp off. I don't ever like to stamp in exactly the same colour. I could use a lighter stamping pad, I could use Soft Succulent for example, but I'm actually going to use Evening Evergreen. Managed to get it on me again. Being very messy stamping today, be careful about that. So I've inked it up in Evening Evergreen, but then I want to stamp off, and by stamp off we simply stamp onto the paper, and then without doing anything else again, I am going to lean over, so sorry if my head's getting a little bit in the way, and line it up by eye. And I know if I've got it lined up, because I lined the stamp up before I put it on the block, I know that it has actually stamped exactly where I want it to. So if I bring that closer, can you see how that is stamped really nicely within the lines I wanted it to? So that is my little hint for how to line up your stamps really easily without using a stamp apparatus or any other tools, just by lining up your stamp on the original image and then picking it up with the block. So that was the tip I wanted to show you today. So I'm just very quickly going to carry on to make this particular card, because I want to, similar to the one I just showed you before, I'm going to, oh, where's my stamps gone? There we go. I'm going to use the outline of the, just take that sheet off for a minute. I'm going to use the outline of the flowers stamps too. So again, difficult to get up this, it's really stuck down, there we go. So again, I'm going to pull it off, allow it to just rest a minute in my hands and drop it onto my stamping block. And then I'm going to use Highland Heather. So again, this is my outline stamp, so I'm going to stamp that directly. So just ink it up, and then, another little tip. If you are going to punch it out, and I'm going to punch these flowers out using the punch, can you see how if I stamp it like that, my stamps are going to be the wrong way round? I need to get it so that it's like that for me to slide the paper in. So I know I want to stamp this way around to make it easy to punch out when I come to punch it. So I'm going to stamp like that on the paper here. We just quickly clean that stamp, put it back. So now I've got the infill stamp, and again I can do a similar thing as before. I'm going to place it over. This is less likely to move than the other one because there's not quite so much of it to move around, but I still want to make sure it is properly lined up with the images below that I want to stamp into. So I can do the same thing to make sure it's covered, and then I'm going to get my scrap bit of paper again, ink up my stamp, stamp off, and then come back to my image itself, lean over again, so apologies if I am getting in the way a little bit. Make sure it's lined up and stamp. Ooh. And there we have my stamped and infilled images again. So nicely lined up, so I've got those just right. And because I got them that particular way round, I can now slide this straight into my punch, and they're in the right place to make it easy just to line them up. Am I happy with that? Yes. And punch them out. So there are my flowers. And now it's just a matter of putting the card together. So, as I said, I'd already prepared all of these layers. So my big layers, by the way, again, I'm using Gorgeous Grape against Basic White. So my big Gorgeous Grape layer is just 1/2 centimetre less than the size of the card. So it's 14.3 by 10. And my Basic White layer, let's put this one on. So that gives me what I like as a border all the way around. Then this layer that I have embossed with the cane weave embossing folder, this is 1 centimetre less than the whole card, so 1/2 centimetre less than my Gorgeous Grape layer. So this is 9.5 centimetres by 13.8 centimetres. And as I said, I made sure that I had stamped on it first and before I put it through the embossing folder, because it is impossible, I can tell you, because I've tried it myself. It is impossible to stamp on such a deeply embossed folder after you've actually run it through the embossing machine. So my next stage is to stick my leaf stamped piece on top of my layer. So these pieces, just to remind you again, my Gorgeous Grape layer is 8 by 10.5, so 8 across 10.5 deep, and this one is 7.5 across by 10 deep, and that gives me, ooh, not quite in the middle, let me just move that. The beauty of liquid glue is that I can move it when I don't quite get it in the middle. So there is my panel to go on the front here, just between the Let's Celebrate and You. Oh, I haven't left myself too much room. I should have stamped those a bit further apart, but never mind, that'll do. So I'm going to stick I think I'll stick them all on with dimensionals. And if I wanted, I could stamp some extra leaves to give a bit more dimension if I wanted. I'm not going to necessarily for this. I can add them later if I want. And then it's just a matter of deciding where I want my flowers to be. So I think we'll have this one down towards here, We'll have the smaller one up at the top there, and I'll have my big one over to the side here, and that one can cover the others because it's the biggest and the most beautiful, I suppose. And then I'm just going to stick it on the middle here. I may well, I see now I've made a mistake on that. I may have to go back and change this because I need, my Let's Celebrate is not high enough. I should have done this slightly lower and that slightly higher. So I may go back and redo that. I'm not going to stick it on because I think I need to redo that front. But I hope it gives you some idea. If I can find my plainer version. That worked quite well. There we go. And I did stamp my envelopes as well, as I've shown you. I do have an envelope for this one somewhere. I definitely did get it ready, but I don't know where I've put it. Anyway, I shall find that later. But I hope that gives you some ideas as to how to use these outline and infill stamps without having to bother with a stamp apparatus and fiddle around with that. Just a nice way to get these things to line up properly. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you would like a copy of the catalogue or to know any more, please go to my website, craftycarolscards.co.uk, where you can just click on an online copy of the catalogue. If you would like me to send you a paper copy, then please just get in touch either through the website or by emailing me at carol@craftycarolscards.co.uk. And I will see you again soon. I hope you enjoyed this. Do subscribe if you did, and I will be back with more projects next week. Bye for now.